Hey, Mr. Binks, you know how I think it's very important to have a blood diagnostic done as part of your annual health check. Well, we're jumping on Zoom now to talk to Laura Howe, who is a vet and the clinical director at the charity called Pet Blood Bank. They're responsible for supplying vets all across the UK with valuable blood in the event of needing a transfusion and a lot more. I'm Anna Webb. Welcome to A Dog's Life. Laura Howe, welcome to A Dog's Life.
Thank you. Really nice to be here.
I'm so excited to be chatting with you because we're talking about the Pet Blood Bank, which is an amazing charity that a lot of people maybe aren't aware exists. But just as humans need blood for transfusions, urgent emergency situations, and the like, so do dogs and cats.
Yeah, it's something which I think unless you yourself have had a dog that's needed a transfusion, or maybe a family member that's needed a transfusion in their lifetime, a family member's dog, should I say, then it's not something that has crossed a lot of people's radars, and certainly it's very common for people to say, "Oh, I didn't even realise that was a thing." Oh, yeah, when you think about it, dogs would need blood. So it's a very interesting part of the sort of the veterinary profession to be involved in, and an amazing thing to be involved in terms of what members of the public and their dogs are able to do for other dog owners who love their dogs as much as each and every one of us. So it's a fantastic sort of altruistic thing.
Absolutely. As it is, with people giving blood, that real well-being feeling that you are helping others. But I think in a way, maybe with dogs and cats, it's kind of even more so down to the fact that a lot of blood is needed annually, would you say?
Yeah, we've always got a demand. There's always a demand for dog blood, just like with humans. In terms of the demand for blood, their dogs will need blood if they're sick and injured. They might need transfusions because they've got a disease which is destroying their own blood cells. So there's multiple reasons that they would need blood transfusions, and so 24 hours, 7 days a week, that blood is in demand, just like humans. And it can really mean the difference between life and death for seriously ill dogs. Each one of our life-saving donors makes a massive difference in that when they donate a pint of blood, that gets split into their component parts, and it can help save the lives of up to 4 other dogs. And so it makes a massive impact each time they come. And dogs, in terms of donating, they might have to retire from donation due to ill health or due to age, and so that's why we're continuously needing a supply of new donors who are eager and ready to come and meet us and have all the fuss and the treats that go alongside doing the blood donation themselves.
Yes, I mean, this is what it is. It's like a family experience in a way, or a training experience for the dog and the owner. Because I would assume, well, dogs do have to be a certain weight. So, in a way, it's actually quite restrictive in terms of dogs have to be over 25 kilos. As you say,
Yeah,
be of a
yes.
certain age. And I believe not to be on any medication, and obviously not to have anything seriously wrong with them.
Yeah, absolutely, Anna. So we have set criteria which will restrict the dog population who are able to donate. But there are, very good reasons for that. So the dogs need to be fit and healthy. They need to weigh over 25 kilos. They need to be aged between 1 and 8 years old, and they need to be confident and enjoy meeting new people. So in terms of the fit and healthy, obviously that goes without saying that we wouldn't want to take blood from a dog that was unwell themselves, because they need to keep their own blood to fight any sort of diseases they've got going on. And also we wouldn't want to give a blood that had any sort of complications, any abnormalities in it, to a dog that needed a transfusion. In terms of the weight, it means that something like a Labrador size, or the average Labrador, should I say, size dog and upwards would be suitable to donate, so 25 kilograms. And the reason for that is that the blood collection bags that we use are the human ones. And so there has to be a set volume of blood that goes into that, and we can't take a smaller amount because of the fluid called the anticoagulant within the bag. So basically, we're restricted on the volume we can take. So it's just the bigger dogs that are able to give that volume safely. And so, yeah, dogs over 25 kilos, there's no maximum. So we've had Great Danes and Irish Wolfhounds that have been 80, 90 kilos, so which is quite amazing. They still give their pint of blood. They still just give the 1 pint. But we have all kinds of shapes and sizes of dogs that come along to donate. I guess one of the most important things is that they need to be confident and enjoy meeting new people. So the sort of dogs that make really excellent donors are the dogs which love meeting new people, being in new situations, really sort of happy and friendly, and dogs that often will like going to the vets, because there's lots of dogs that do, and just having a sort of a really sociable time with people. And we find that a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not sure whether my dog would be able to donate," because they are just so enthusiastic and bouncy and a little bit crazy. But we do find that the dogs that are, as long as they're confident with that and have a certain sort of level of obedience with it, they will make the very best donors. So some dogs, well, a lot of dogs really surprise their owners because of how amazing they are when they come along, even though they might be a bit loony when they're at home and very excited with life. So as long as they're confident, then we would love to see them, and we can just run through the process and just see what they think. You know, it's every time they come is a different time, and we certainly give lots of training throughout, and lots of sort of treats and praise throughout to make it a really confident, really happy, sort of positive time for them.
Yes, no, this all sounds really great. And I do believe that dogs know when, they're doing something right. There's that extra level to it because
Yes,
they'll be picking up on the happy vibes from the owner that's proud of them. So there's
yeah,
going to be a different energy than going to the vet when there's a problem. When I think a lot of dogs pick up on their owner's angst, and that doesn't help. But of course, it's very difficult, not to have that. We're only human, right, Laura? So
yeah,
of course you're going to
absolutely.
be
Yeah,
stressed out at whatever. So it's that there's a
yeah,
different
yeah.
energy. But where would this go on? Are you sort of connected to certain vet practices around the country that offer this sort of 1 day a week or something? How does it actually work?
Yeah, how we operate. So we run primarily out of different veterinary practices around the country. The best way to find out where a session goes on near you is to look at our session locator on our website, the Pet Blood Bank website, and you can just pop your postcode in there to find your nearest donation venue. Um, and so it's primarily veterinary practices. There are a few other sort of locations that we operate from. We also have a mobile unit, which we take around the Midlands area as well. And so that there's possibilities for that as well. And so in terms of the veterinary practices, they're veterinary practices that have sort of volunteered their premises for us. And generally we go back once every 8 weeks. So dogs can donate no more often than once every 8 weeks and up to 6 times a year. So generally, we go back to the same practices once every 8 weeks. When you come along, it runs very much like the human blood service in that the session's split into 3 parts. The owner stays with the dog throughout the whole process. Some owners, very occasionally, if they don't like the sight of blood, then they prefer to just let the dogs come through with us. And as long as the dog's happy to do that, that's absolutely fine. But the vast majority of dogs will come through with their owners for the whole process. And so the dogs firstly receive a pre-donation health check from our vet. So that's really to check that they're fit and healthy to donate that particular day. And next, the dog goes into the donation area where they'll donate approximately a pint or 450 mils of blood. That takes between 5 and 10 minutes. They're lifted up. Majority of the dogs, unless they're the very very big ones, are lifted up and gently placed on their side on a very comfy sort of big bed mattress. And then at the same time, they're getting a lovely tummy rub from our team while they're on the table, and lots of sort of praise. The owner's right by their face, by their head, and sort of can talk to them all the way through. And then after the donation, the dogs then go into the post-donation area where they get their tea and biscuits. treats, which is a drink of water and a snack, and lots of fuss and lots more treats. And then they're given a goodie bag to take home with them, which contains a toy which they can choose themselves, some more treats, and also if the owner's happy to, we take a photo of the dog for our Facebook page wearing their red lifesaver bandana, which is awarded to them the first time they donate a pint of blood. So it's really their sort of badge of honour, if you like, because they do such an amazing job. Um,
Oh,
and so it's really a very similar process to human blood donation, but it's based on a lot of positivity, a lot of treats, a lot of fuss, a lot of praise. And the kind of dogs that are the regular donors are the ones that literally, we have some dogs that drag their owners through the door and are so excited to be there. And I think you're right, Anna, in that it is a different situation to go into the vets, because the dogs have learned that actually it's going to be a really sort of fun time and there's going to be a lot of treats. So they are very enthusiastic about being there.
I mean, brilliant. If you have that size dog, I think
Yeah,
everyone should do it to
yeah,
basically make vets be a very happy, fun place. So, in the
yeah,
event that you are going there on one occasion in a bit of a stressed out state of
mm,
mind, the experience the dog's already learnt is going to deflect from that
yeah,
massively.
absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, it's so important. Dogs are so clever, aren't they? The way they learn,
yeah,
and they,
yeah,
with episodic memory, it's like
yes,
we have it too, don't we?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
in fact, it began being studied in humans, but yeah, people didn't actually think dogs could have episodic memory, so remembering that, well, the vet is a typical example, that the vet
Hmm.
means I get a needle in my leg. Yikes, we don't
Hmm.
like that. So that's just one of the many bits of science that's come out within the last decade to highlight
Hmm.
just how sentient dogs
Yeah,
really are. So,
yeah,
but I love,
absolutely.
I love the bandanas. I think they're great.
Mm.
On your Instagram, I just love how proud everybody is
Oh, they
um,
really are. Yes,
wearing those
yeah, yeah,
bandanas, and it's like the dogs know it. I believe they do. You see, and they've
yeah.
got a
They
real
really seem
sense
to.
of
Yeah.
chuff, a proud pose,
Hmm.
But is dog and cat blood, mustn't forget cats, of course. So, I
Hmm.
mean, no, I assume because cats will need blood, just, I mean, gosh, I mean, arguably, probably more cats get run over. I hate to even think of it than dogs. Do they
Hmm.
statistically, Laura? Do you
Yeah,
think? I mean,
so cats do need blood as well. At the moment, Pet Blood Bank doesn't operate a blood bank for cats, but it's something that we are setting up. We're currently in the process of setting up, and at the moment, in a sort of emergency situation, vets can consider giving dog blood to cats in emergency cases, but this should just be sort of decided on a case by case basis, and should ideally be sourced from other cats. So the practices themselves that have got the patient that needs the cat blood would need to source a cat donor in their own practice to be able to transfuse the cats. But so Pet Blood Bank is in the process of setting up a blood bank for cats. So hopefully very soon we'll be able to offer that service as well, exactly as we do for dogs. So yes, as you say, there's a requirement for blood transfused for cats as well as dogs. We're also involved in the processing of blood for alpacas, which is a slightly different situation. Because alpacas in the herd, the baby alpaca, the cria, they're very susceptible to a problem with a lack of transfer of immunity across their gut barrier when they're really tiny, from their mother's milk. And so it means that they don't have a good immunity. And a lot of the cria, the babies, will die when they're really quite young, just a few days old, just because of lack of immunity. So in the alpaca community, what's been happening is that we've been the vets, the large animal vets, have been out there taking blood donations from the larger male alpaca of the herd, and then it comes back to Pet Blood Bank to be processed. And the plasma from that blood processing, so the plasma from that herd, then goes back and is transfused to the baby cria when they're quite young, and it really improves their survival rate. So it's an amazing thing to be involved in as well, and does amazing things for in terms of the survival of the baby cria. So that's a really lovely thing. With the alpaca, it only goes back into their herd, so they're not donating for other herds. So it's just a slightly different setup for the cria for the alpaca. But yeah, lovely thing for Pet Blood Bank to be involved in as well.
Oh, and really interesting. I mean, would
Mm.
the same process, work if, because obviously the mother's milk, the colostrum, that's
Mm.
why suckling, obviously straight away, that I feel nature's so extraordinary, isn't it?
It
How
really is, yeah,
they
yeah,
know,
mind blowing.
mind blowing. And it is that first milk, which now, is being marketed. There's lots of colostrum supplements on the market,
Yes, yeah.
to help human and pet health. But and it's really because alpacas, it's a growing industry, I believe, in this country, for their wool, which is great. And they're funny things, alpacas,
They
aren't
really
they?
are. They've got such personalities, haven't they? They really have.
Yeah, yeah, really, and great attachment, I think, can build
Mhm.
between owners and their whole herd. But
Yes, yeah.
do cats and dogs? What really interests me, because everyone's sort of looking through your website and everything last night, and I know that dogs do have different blood types, but
Yes.
it startled me because there is one particular rare blood type that one of my
Mm.
dogs is one of those dogs, that an English bull
Ah,
terrier.
right.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
and it's made me think I need to. Will she definitely have this red blood type? Do I need to find out what her blood type is? Am I
So,
being a negligent owner?
well, first of all, with the English Bull Terriers, they're often are over 25 kilograms, but
Well,
sometimes
she's
not
a
too much.
miniature. She's a
So she's
minute.
okay. So
Yeah,
she'd
so
be too
she's
little to
15.
donate. But in
Mm,
terms of if she were to ever need a blood transfusion, then the
mm.
likelihood is that she is negative. But some English Bull Terriers can be positive, and so it would be worth at some point, and see if she was needing a transfusion, your that would blood type her anyway to find out what blood type she is. But yes, we couldn't say for sure without blood typing her whether she's negative or positive, but she's one of the breeds that's more likely to be negative. So with dog blood, we type for something in sort of transfusion medicine in the UK to see whether there's something called DEA1 positive or DEA1 negative. DEA is just a little particle which is on the surface of the red blood cells. And so they either have that particle or they don't. So they're either positive or they're negative. And then in this country, we know that approximately 70% of dogs, all of the breeds of dogs, are of positive blood type, and only 30% are negative blood type. And negative is the blood type which can be given to any dog in an emergency situation. So it's like the sort of universal donor, if you like, in terms of the first donation that they have. But because we've only got 30% of dogs in this country that have got a negative blood type, and it's so in demand, then that means that the shortage of negative blood is it's much more likely to sort of be lower sort of stocks in the bank than the positive blood type. And so we know that also that there are certain breeds that are more likely to be negative than positive blood type. And these include the English Bull Terriers. Obviously, not the miniatures we don't know, but there's standard English Bull Terriers that are big enough to donate sometimes. They're one of the breeds that we look for. The German Shepherds, Doberman, Flatcoat Retrievers, Greyhounds, Lurchers, and Boxers are all breeds that are more likely to be negative. Oh, and also the Weimaraner as well is more likely to be negative. And so within that, there might be some dogs that are positive, but they're more likely to be negative. And so we're particularly looking for owners of those breeds to come forward if they have a happy and confident dog, which is over 25 kilos and never travelled abroad. As long as they're fit and healthy, we would absolutely love to see them. It's a real learning curve. It's a real learning process for them. So there's no pressure on them when they come along to a donation session to donate. Some dogs will take 2 or 3 times of coming to understand what we're asking them to do. But as long as it's really positive for them, and that they're really happy to be there, then that's absolutely fine. We'll just show them the ropes, and hopefully the next time that they come, we'll build on that sort of information that they've stored in their brain, as you say, in terms of their learning process. keep it really happy and positive, and then just move on to the next stage of it. And we're really, really welfare focused. So welfare is the most important thing in everything that we do at a pet blood bank collection session. In terms of the dog, we all of the staff are trained to pick up on behavioural signs, dog not being enjoying the situation if they were unhappy at any point. And so what we want is for a dog to be there and wagging their tail and taking treats and just really enjoying the whole process. If at any point they don't seem to be enjoying the process as much, then we would stop it immediately and concentrate on really sort of positive things and playing with them and getting some toys out and generally keeping it really positive. And some dogs, it's just not for them. We have to say to the owners, really sorry, but this dog, he's clearly not enjoying the process. And so I think it's better that he's not a donor. And there's loads of other things that a donor owner can do in terms of helping Pet Blood Bank. So helping spread the word, raising awareness, volunteering at our sessions. So even if your dog's not suitable to donate because they're not sort of enjoying the process as much as they we would like them to be, then absolutely there's so much other stuff that owners can do to be involved with Pet Blood Bank and support us.
Well, that's great. So I suppose, you could get breed clubs involved, like say
Yes,
for the
yeah,
Weimaraner, doing fun gun dog day activities or something, and all the entries go. It doesn't need to be complicated, or, a gun dog, even what am I, sponsored walk. That's a bit sort of average,
yes,
but
yeah.
all these things do add up, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do. The Greyhound community is very behind Pet Blood Bank, and they do a lot of sort of sponsored walks and meetups, raising money for us. But lots of other sort of breed associations, as you say, are very, very supportive of us, and not just the ones that have negative breeds. All kind of shapes and sizes of breeds have been amazingly supportive of us over the years. So yeah, so it's really heartwarming to see people wanting to help, even if their dog might not be suitable to donate for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. It's a charity. I mean, lots of people donate, don't they, for all the rescue centres and
Mm.
welfare organisations, which, of course, very important. But for me, I feel this is a little bit more special because you are helping save lives. So are all the welfare charities, but there's an awful lot going on at the moment, and perhaps to think about health and that moment, where one dog is facing death,
Mm.
relying on a
Mm.
transfusion, that you can save another dog's life in that dreadful moment that is a dreadful moment. We've all been there. If you've owned a dog for enough time, there's always that moment of touch and go, that
Yeah.
emergency drive up to the Queen Mother Hospital, you know,
Yes, yeah, of
um,
course, yeah.
which must be one of the main places you supply, I would imagine.
Yeah, so a lot of the big referral centres, such as the Queen Mother Hospital at the Royal Veterinary College down just outside London, that's one of the big referral centres that we supply. Referral centres such as that one are often the main practices which do give transfusions to dogs. But having said that, more and more often now, because education is out there for the veterinary surgeons to understand the processes of blood transfusion themselves, for general practitioners, then a lot of general practice vets and hospitals that are not referral centres will perform transfusions on dogs as well. Um, and part of the sort of the welfare remit of the charity of Pet Blood Bank is that in terms of anything, in terms of proceeds that Pet Blood Bank makes over and above the cost of running the charity, goes back into veterinary education and welfare. And so we have a lot of training and lots of information for the veterinary profession to be able to access online, and also webinars that we produce as well, so that not only is it the big referral centres like the Queen Mother Hospital, but the average sort of a GP vet, if you like, in practice on sort of on your street would be able to gain access to all the information that they need to be able to do their own transfusion. So if an owner isn't necessarily insured, or if they want to start the process of transfusion because it's so imminently needed in their own GP practice, and even if they've never done a transfusion before, they have all the resources that they need to be able to order the blood from pet blood bank rather, all of the different information that they need will be online or just at the end of a telephone call. So it's a really good thing, not only for the donor owner, but and the recipient owner, but for the vet in terms of the education that Pet Blood Bank are able to provide for them to support them in actually giving transfusions.
No, I know. Because I mean, obviously, it must be a very skilled process. So, would vets, keep a couple of pints of blood in their freezer, sort of thing? I mean,
Yeah,
in
that's a good question. Yeah, so the with the blood that we supply, we either supply pat red blood cells, which have a shelf life of 6 weeks, so they can stay in the fridge for up to 6 weeks. We also supply plasma, which has a shelf life in the freezer for up to 5 years, so that can be kept much longer. And then we supply platelets, which is to do with the blood clotting rather, and they have a much shorter shelf life. They have to be kept at room temperature, and they're only useful for up to 5 days and then have to be discarded. And so, with the pat red blood cells that last up to 6 weeks, or the plasma, which lasts up to 5 years in the freezer, then what tends to happen is the big referral centres, such as the Queen Mother Hospital or the big referral hospitals all over the country, will keep in stock some of our units of plasma and pat red blood cells, because they know they're going to have to do transfusions on a relatively regular basis. And the average sort of small general practitioner vet may not have stock actually at their practice, but they can just give us a call, and then 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we can send out a courier to send it to them. Occasionally, we have practices that will send a vet nurse over to collect it from us if that's going to be cheaper, or maybe even quicker. Or sometimes owners come to collect it as a result of the vet practice ordering from us. What we also find is we have something called the sharing scheme, whereby if a practice anywhere in the country is not able or doesn't have the time to wait for a courier to come to Pet Blood Bank in Loughborough, where our head office and lab is based, and they need a blood product really imminently, then they can use the sharing scheme, whereby the hospitals, the big referral centres around the country that supply or stock plasma and pat red blood cells, they can borrow that from that bigger, sort of larger hospital referral centre. And then order it in to replace it the next day. So often you might have a referral centre that's just 10 minutes down the road or an hour away from you, which is much quicker and much more preferable than driving or getting a courier to come up all the way from Loughborough up to Edinburgh or wherever you are with your GP practice. So that is a really speedy way that practices can get life-saving plasma or pat red blood cells for their dogs if there's time is really of the essence.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's amazing how the veterinary community help each other through the sharing scheme as well. That's a really great thing to hear, that often somebody will drive for an hour to drop off a unit of blood to another practice in need. And so yeah, so it's just a really useful thing to have a network across the country.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And well, it's community, isn't it? And it
Absolutely.
saves miles in transport, and so
Mhm.
helps the planet as well, really.
Yeah.
Because my cat's just joined the session, Laura.
Right.
You know, two cats. I'm interested in this because I've
Mm.
always had, well, for the last 14 years, I've had a cat as well. Do they have different blood types then, or do we not know? We must know. Do we? I mean,
Yeah, so they do have different blood types. They have different blood types to humans and to dogs. So then the blood types are nothing like dogs. And so in terms of blood type in cats, there's more than two blood types that you need to know about for cats. And so blood typing and blood transfusion for cats is a little more complicated. And cats being sort of unlike small dogs, the majority of them in terms of temperament. You just different things that you need to think about when you're taking a blood donation from a cat. Um, but we know that there are a lot of cats out there that are really laid back and chilled and just do a blood donation as if it was an everyday thing to do. So there are plenty of cats out there that are big enough to and able to donate and of the right temperament for sure.
so Laura, in terms of cats, how big do they have to be to give blood?
So they need to be 4.5 kilograms or heavier. And so a lot of the domestic short-haired cats, the sort of moggy cats, will be under that. But there also will be a very good proportion or population of bigger cats, chunkier cats that will be potentially suitable to be blood donors.
Yes, absolutely. Just one last little question. It's just in my mind here. I'm interested. If your dog or cat were to need platelets in an emergency,
Hmm.
what might be the reason for that?
Well, often it's because they have a disease process which is either destroying their platelets in their blood or might mean that the platelets in their blood are not working for whatever reason. And so the platelets are to do with the blood clotting in the dog's blood. And so sometimes if a dog has an illness whereby they're destroying their own platelets, then they need to be given medication to stop their own body destroying the platelets. But that medication might take a little while to actually sort of kick in and be working. And so it takes a while for the platelet level in the blood, in the dog's own blood to increase again. And so in the meantime, what you want to do is aid blood clotting in that dog. So you want to make sure that if he cuts his paw or if he knocks himself, that actually the lack of blood clotting isn't going to be a problem for him. So in the meantime, the platelet units that we produce are there to be given to the dog so that it literally kind of just plugs any holes, any sort of deficits that the dog has in terms of not being able to clot its blood. And so it just provides some extra time until the medication they've been given to kick in, so that the dog can remain stable until those medicines are doing their job and the dog's sort of recovering, if you like. And so it is a really important product to be able to offer. It's a relatively new product. I think the Bank have only been offering it for about a year.
Oh,
But it's something which was really, really needed in the veterinary world, and we literally, as fast as we're producing it, it gets goes off the shelves, and into a dog that needs a recipient dog. So yeah, so that's a very exciting new product that we're able to supply the veterinary profession.
marvelous. I mean, people need to, we don't often think about our blood, do we? I mean, it's kind of obviously in us all, zooming around,
Mhm.
sending oxygen to the cells and, taking bad things away and putting good things in. It's like, but without it, I mean, it's like, it's key, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely key.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's what keeps us alive. It's what helps fight infection and take away, some of the diseases. And yeah, basically, it is just completely life saving, and it does mean the difference between life and death if you don't have enough of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if it's become over-infected and unable to cope, But Laura, this is so lovely. Thank you so much for this chat. I've absolutely loved it.
Oh, you're
And
very welcome. Thank
I
you.
just urge everyone to have a check out of your website. All the links are going to be in the show notes. And I really hope you come back. And I'd love to know when you'll be offering services for cats.
Yeah, that would be a lovely conversation to have. So hopefully in the future I'll be able to come back and chat to you about that too.
Absolutely brilliant. Thanks again, Laura.
Well, thank you very much, Anna. Nice to speak to you.
That's our show, Mr. Binks. What did you think? Yes, it is interesting that you are likely to be a positive blood and Prudence is likely to be a negative blood. And you're right, it is time for Woof of the Week. The work that Pet Blood Bank does to supply life-saving blood for dogs and cats across the UK is so important. So please, if you're thinking about supporting a charity, put them on your list. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, go on, rate and review the show wherever you tune into your podcasts, as it really does make a big difference. Thanks again, of course, to Laura Howe for joining us today, and all of the links, of course, are in the show notes. Thanks to Mike Hanson, my producer, for all the production and music as ever. And find out more about him at Pod People UK. You can find out more about me on my website, or why not follow me on Instagram? What's that, Mr. Binks? Yes, you're right. We will be back in your feed next Sunday. So why don't you subscribe? Because that way you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.